full border patrol in Czechoslovakia and East Germany. We had roving patrols, and we'd have outposts where you'd go out and spend 12 hours sitting out there watching the border. And the roving patrol had a route we would travel in, go up and check barriers and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So,
those were long days.
yeah, we'd be up six weeks up and 12 weeks back. And 12 weeks we were back, we would be out in the field, the biggest part of it. Our outfit was spit and polish, and we was back in camp, everything. And it was pretty rough. They couldn't find anything wrong, they'd pick up the bedpost and check under it for dust. So, but I liked it over there. The Germans, they were hard-working people. We got along with them pretty good. Up on the border, there's a lot of communists up there. But, they had a lot of run-in family causing trouble. Norman the GI, he didn't need too much excuse to make trouble.
How long were you in occupied Germany?
18 months. I took basic Fort Knox, 8 weeks of basic, 8 weeks of reconnaissance, and went over there for 18 months. Germany is pretty much like what it is here, about the same weather and everything. Over there when the sun goes down, it gets pretty cold. But, it was, I seen a lot of Russians, seen a lot of Czechs. All between us was three rows of barbed wire fence, 9 strands high, with loud strips between them. And they'd have outposts from one point to another point, so they could see all the area. And any area they couldn't see, those loud strips would be mined. And the ones that weren't mined, every so often they go through and drag, so not you can tell if a dog went through or anything like that.
And this is between Germany and what country?
It's, well, East Germany and West Germany, and Czechoslovakia. They, we play games every once in a while. The Russians, when they first started over there, the Russians, they'd come, sneak across the border and kidnap one of the American soldiers, take him back across. So then, to get him back, they would bring the Americans would take cigarettes and stuff over.
Coat of bargain.
Then they'd turn him loose. So then, pretty soon they'd kidnap another one. And that way they got their cigarettes.
Kids. So you know how well thought of you were, how many cigarettes it took to get you.
Then that was when, right after the war, and then after Berlin started having problems there, they barricaded it out and everything, then it got serious, before they could do things like it. Then it was, they would shoot you. So that was several American.
Definitely more serious.
Pardon?
That was definitely more serious.
So I guess I really never felt threatened or anything, except for about 10 years of my life. One morning for several months, it was one of the guys in our unit was he'd get a 3-day pass or an overnight pass or anything like that whenever he wanted it. We couldn't, for a long time, we couldn't figure out what was going on. Finally, one day, I was up at Wyden on the on the border CQ that night, and I got a telephone call from the Red Cross to send this boy home, get him packed up, send him home. Well, a few days later, I get a letter from Mom, and they knew what was going on here in the States, and I'm sending him home. I didn't know why I was sending him home. She told me why. He'd been going out with this German girl, and she was had been trying to get information from him on different weapons, stuff like that. We just got our new T-41 tanks in, and she started asking questions about that too. So the MPs and CIA and journalists, basically everybody, they started getting the information to give to her. Well, then she wanted the information on the new tank, and she's willing to pay for our money for it, well, they arrested her. Well, this, I got all the articles in there on it too for you, if you want to look at them. But they, I guess his wife was threatened to sue him for divorce, so that's why we sent him home. So they had warned us, because the little town she lived in was in the same area we were patrolling at that time. And so it was night, I had night patrol that night, and we wanted to check a barrier between the Czech zone and the American zone, and we had to go between two barns and up to the barrier, and which was a barrier just out of logs and stuff that's out in the country. Make sure nobody went around or anything like that. And we went through there, and it was real foggy. Didn't see a thing. So after you're over there a while, you get relaxed. You don't keep on top of things. So we went through there, and we checked the barrier, turned around, and started back through. And my driver was his grandparents were German, and he could speak German somewhat. And so we came back through, and just as we get to this barn, two figures stepped out in the road in front of us. And there's nobody there, and we went through and we seen. So when we, first thing came through my mind, the Germans, the Czechs had got us between them and the border, and I thought we had it. Of course, my carbine was on the bottom of the Jeep, C-ration, maps, and everything else on top of it. But our machine gunner was a big black boy. I heard the machine gun 30 caliber click twice, and that meant it was loaded. But we didn't carry him loaded at the time.
Right.
So he was ready, and about that time my driver understood what they wanted. They wanted to ride back to town. It was the West German Border Patrol walking the border, and they wanted to ride back to town. So they were wearing the bearskin coats like the Russian soldiers were, and nobody told us they had changed their uniforms either.
Oh my
So that didn't help any either.
No.
So, really, that was about the only thing that we had that was, myself, it was scary. But I know I got a few gray hairs that morning. But,
I would say so, yeah.
But she got 2 years out of the deal, and she lived up in a little town we went through on our patrol, and so other than that, that's about it. But we'd once a month we'd have an alert. We'd have to go out in the field. We had 15 minutes. I had to go to the motor pool, pick up my tank, drive it back to the barracks. My crew would have all their gear out and load it. We'd load it and clear that base in 15 minutes. We had to be out the front gate or we were in trouble. So, and you didn't know when to come. It could be at the middle of the day. It could be on Sunday morning. It could be Saturday night when everybody was downtown drunk, and maybe you'd have two in your crew. And they sent a truck down to pick them up in town, bring them out to you. But I met a lot of good friends over there that we still get together. There was 7 of us, and we're down to 5 now. 2 of us passed away in the last 3 years. We had one this spring, and but I had one boy in St. Louis that he's been there, one of the kids' weddings.
Oh, how
He
nice.
came to my retirement party. We go out to everything he has.
Yeah. That's beautiful.
We see each other a couple times a year. And I located another one in 95 when I retired. That for 40 years I drove within 7 miles of his house in Miller.
Oh, my goodness.
So I finally located him, and I got on the internet, and there's one in Nebraska, Colorado, Texas, and then there's one in Iowa and St. Louis, and us. Three of them, we've been kept in touch ever since we got out of service.
Yes.
And we get together, well, or one in 95, I located one in southern part of Illinois, two of them down there, and one of them died 6 months after I seen him for the first time, 40-some years. And the other boy, man, he died this spring. But we get together in Brown County last October every year, for the last 4 years now. And
nice.
the weekend there.
Yeah, that's real nice.
And we correspond back and forth all the time.
Mhm.
So was Germany the only place you served? You said something about
Mhm.
Korea?
No,
Oh, that was
that was just during the
during
Korean
the
War.
Korean War.
I joined during the Korean. Don Rye and Charlie Morgan and I joined.
So you joined instead of being drafted, huh?
Yeah, well, they didn't want to get close to us. And we were able to join for 2 years. For some reason or other, we joined Middletown, and at that time, we got in for 2 years instead of 3. Why, I don't know, but they were about ready to get me anyway. And we went over there in February and talked to them and signed up. And we left in March and went down. We left here March 10th. We went to Cincinnati, went through our physical again. They put us on a train that night and came right back up through Waynesville, Fort Meade, Maryland. And I was ready to get off that.
I would imagine.
Then we was up there a week, then we came back, and Charlie and I came back. Don, he went to Breckenridge, I think, and we came back through Dayton, Carlisle, went to Fort Knox for 16 weeks. So that's about it.
Now, what was the tank? You drove tanks too?
Mhm.
Okay.
We started out in the M24, which is a light reconnaissance tank. I had twin Cadillac engines in it, and when I got to Germany, that's what we had. Then I went to tank school, and we got the Walker Bulldog T-41 tank, new tank. Similar to the one, the engine's similar to the one that's sitting over the cemetery over there, except it's smaller. That's a 50-ton, ours is 25-ton. That's the same type of engine, except smaller. 4-man crew in it.
Never been in a tank, that would be interesting.
We had that nowhere over 2 weeks when anybody could came in
Yeah,
through it.
I should have done that,
Now it's all well.
where they seal it,
So what was your personal life at the time of enlistment? Were you married yet, or were
No,
you just
not-
18, or?
I was 19 when I joined, or 18 when I went over and talked to them, and when I went to service, I was 19. We went March 10th. Dorothy and I got engaged while I was home at basic, after basic, and we got married and I got back. Just June the 8th, it was our 47th. So,
How about that? 47 years.
all my life.
If you could say one thing positive that came out of your military experience, lifelong, what would it be?
I know what no means.
Okay, that's good, I like that.
No, it was a good experience. I'm glad I did it, and I don't particularly want to do it again, but I know how the difference between the United States and foreign countries, how they live, and how well we got it here, that people that don't realize how nice it is. The German people they were hard-working people. If they had a 10-acre field, that was a big farm for them. There's no fences. They maybe had one horse and a cow they used to farm with, and then they'd bring the cow back in that night and milk her. Next morning she'd be back out in the field, out full of plow or a hay wagon, something like that. The kids, in the summertime, their job was, most of them were to take the livestock out to the field. They might have a dog with them. They go out with their a bottle of beer, and a loaf of black bread, and they spend the day out there in the field watching the livestock, keeping them inside their pasture, and at night they drive them back in to the barn. And the women, they work out in the field right with the men. And so it's, they didn't have an easy life. The woods or the forest, if you knocked a tree down, we paid for it and had to fight for them back in place of it. If they, I forget what the guy's name is, like our park rangers, he'd go out and he'd tell you which tree you cut down, which one you couldn't. We'd be down maneuvers, and we couldn't find enough limbs and trash and stuff to start a fire with. But I think they caught every limb before it ever hit the ground. They, you know how vines and moss will grow in the ground. They'd go out and they would clean that up, roll it up and dry it so they could burn it. And they had it rough. Like I said, I think they caught it before it hit the ground because you couldn't find enough twigs on the ground to start a fire. And they'd have a little basket, a little woven basket they have on their back. You see them going down the road, they just be packed full of twigs and stuff like that that we used to burn.
Very cruel.
So, were there any negatives that you took away from your military experience?
Not really. I had no complaints to any, really. I got along with all the officers pretty well, and we had fairly easy. Once we got over there, we didn't have to do KP or anything like that. We paid so much a month. We had the German women was the KP, did all the KP. We had along with that, I think it cost us $1 a month, something like that. And then we had we could get a haircut out of that. We could get our patches and stripe or whatever sewed on. Any buttons come off, they just take care of the buttons too. So it. But no, I can't say of anything that. Well, of course, I griped some then, you know, but I ain't really anything really bad. No, I didn't. I'm glad I went.
Would you like to say anything about your experiences in the service for history's sake? Anything that maybe you've never said before, or just a comment you'd like to make for history's sake?
Repeat that again. See what kind of trouble.
Is there one thing that you'd like to say about your experience in the service that you've never had the opportunity to say before, something for the sake of history or posterity that you'd like to make a comment about?
I've said this plenty of times, but I don't like the boat trip across the ocean.
That would be rough.
That's the only complaint I had about the whole deal. Really, it was worse that I lost 15 pounds in 10 days coming home. And going over, I was pulling KP in the officer's mess. And so we took care of everything, set the tables for them, and served them their coffee and everything. Then when they left, we were able to, the cooks was feeding us the same food that they were getting. Until one day, one of the officers, the third day out, one of the officers came down and caught us eating the same food as they were. Then we went back to eat with the rest of the troops and went back eating the old Davy food. So but then that's when I started getting sick again too. I was sick going, I was sick coming. So I could done off the boat ride.
So from now on, they should fly people over.
Yeah.
No ships, just fly.
They said we went south to miss the storm. I think we went south to hit the storm. Don Rye, nothing bothers him. I met him over there on the way back, and any chance we got, we get up on the top deck, and we sit on the cargo hatch, and right in there was a broom closet in front of us. Every time one of the waves come up over the front of the boat, we'd jump down, get behind that, and not get some water spray. Well, one time he grabbed me and held me outside. If he'd let loose, I'd went overboard. Another story about Don Rye. I got my orders to come home. I looked on them, and there was Don's name on it. And I kept waiting every time we stopped to see if I could find him. Got to Frankfurt and got off the train, and we were going to switch trains there. And so I told him there was a fence there, and he had to walk way up to depot to get, then come right back down where we was at. So I just threw the duffel bag over the fence, jumped over it, and reached down, picked the duffel bag up, and there stood Don Rye. He had two black eyes. He'd gotten a fight the night before, and he carried him for 10 days home. so that was Don.
Yeah, that's Don.
That's about it, I guess. Said enough already.
Well, thank you so much for sharing with us.
June 12, 2001.
World War II in England and Europe.
All over Europe.